Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host. This podcast is how to fight CPS and get back your children or hang on to your children. It's live and it's brought on via YouTube. You found me through Facebook and it's produced by Vincent W. Davis and Associates. It's a law firm in Southern California, and I um, uh, where it um, I want you all to know that you're going through a very horrible times right now, and I know that must really uh, frustrate you because you're dealing with an entity that I too have been there and dealing with. It's an entity that lies and cheats. It's not honest. There's a lot of deception goes on, and it's a really hard time for you. I feel for you because I've been fighting for 14 years. Now, this broadcast is interactive, meaning that there's several ways that you can interact with it. So, um, the first one is that you can text me with your comments. All you need to do is put your name and then the city and the state you're calling from. Now, some of you may be from other countries, which is fine. I encourage all to call in and talk on this show or voice your comments or anything. This is a very important issue worldwide. I've had Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, and Mexico. All people called in from those areas and have text messages to me. One is actually a caller from Mexico. So um, it is worldwide, this CPS podcast is. So CPS is really, really hard agency to understand. I've been trying to look at the history of CPS, and it goes back over 150 years. I mean, they've been trying to take care of children for a long time. Since the start of the Civil War, there's a lot of homeless children, a lot of children and a lot of families. And a lot of families are low income. And it seems like it hasn't changed as far as CPS. They seem to make a lot of money. And that seems to be their goal lately. They're supposed to protect children from neglect and abuse and do something called family reunification, which they don't seem to do. They think every child, when they get a complaint, an allegation, that they believe it's true, and that every child is in imminent danger and must be taken from the household right away, or taken from the time of birth. There's two places that they're taking children. Well, they also take them from grandparents' homes and other places too, and they'll come from out of state to another state, such as the case in Boston, Massachusetts, where they went to the grandmother's home in Rhode Island and took the child of the mother that was in the hospital having some work on, and the kids were being taken care of by the grandmother. That's how horrible this agency is. Good morning, Faye. Welcome. She's from Richmond, Kentucky, and she's a remarkable lady. So glad to see you, Faye. So anyway, please text in. I love to hear from you, interact with you, and any comments you might make. And I'm not perfect, but I try to make it different. I try to make it more enjoyable. I'm there for you. And you need to know these things because you're in a witch hunt of a place. A witch hunt of a place. So um, I want you all to realize, do not give up. You love your children, and the best person to take care of your children, studies have proven, are the biological parents. There's so many of you. I know there's single moms out there raising their children with uh, ADHD, or they're they need full-time caregivers and things like that. Some of your mothers are so loving. I talked to one mother last night, and she's been taking care of her son, who's now an older adult, and now adult services interfered with her taking care of her son. It seems like now we have three parts of CPS. We have the child protection services, we have the adult protection services, and then we have the senior protection services, the elders. And they're all run by, I think, the same agency. I'm still trying to research that. So if you're a senior or an adult or a child, social services trying to take care of your needs, which is good if they do. But it seems like a lot of times they're doing bad things. It's all because of the money, money. And that's something that you'll see for yourself. Well, boy, Faye, I'm glad to hear that information. Faye just said the Kentucky CHS just was audited and found to have embezzled $389,000 plus federal dollars that the auditor couldn't establish where that money went to. There you go. There you go. There you go. That's amazing, Faye. That is amazing. Good morning, Erica Marie. They gave me sole custody to a dad and gave me into July for my son. If they want me to go there, counseling, not Kaiser. If they're not taking my son away, it's wrong. I feel for you. Erica Marie, what city and state are you from? Erica Marie. And you said that you're my daughter's dad. Sorry. Okay. I kind of try to understand you. You let me see. They gave sole custody to the dad and gave me until July for my son. But I think you meant your dad's. Is there two fathers here? Maybe that's what's got me confused. And why would they give the custody, Erica, to the dad? What were the allegations, Erica? What were the allegations? Um, wow. Faye just says they commit, they also do Social Security fraud and medical fraud all the time. Yep. There's a lot of those cases in there, Faye. I really hear for you. Erica, if you could say the city and state you're from and whether you have two different fathers. Oh, you're in North Hollywood. You're in California then. Well, Erica, um, I know how you feel. I know that you're really hurting. I really want to help you. And I was just getting into the show about where you can call in and be live on the show if you like to. Um, that's true, Erica. I know. Um, would you like to talk on the show? You can call into 626 698 0990. If any of you would like to talk to me, my phone is right beside me, and you go on the speakerphone and you'll be able to talk live on the podcast. And I'd love to hear your story. Okay, Erica. Um, yeah, if you can't call in, that is fine. Now, if you want to be a guest on my show, all you have to do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's at the bottom, scrolling around. It's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Or tonight would be good too, Erica. I'm trying to understand. You say the second dad isn't, the first dad, um, the second dad is out of the picture. So this is involving two children and they're not splitting. It should be a joint visitation. What are the allegations, Erica? What are the allegations to you? That's what I'm trying to understand. Well, they don't have to have marks. I mean, how were the children taken? I mean, okay, were you going through a divorce? Were you married to your husband of the children, or do you have a partnership? I'm trying to understand you to help you. Um, okay, so I've told you all that if you want to be a guest on my show, all you do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. If you want to call in and speak right now, you call 626 698 0990. It's really, really important. And Faye was just sharing me how much money that state of Kentucky has embezzled from the federal government. And that's one of the problems. Um, that sounds like false allegations, Erica. Those are false allegations that were made for retaliation. That's the trouble. A lot of you that are listening right now is how this whole system works. Is there's two ways it's reported to child protection services. One way is by professionals who are like your teachers, your doctors, your counselors, firemen, policemen. Anybody that works with children by law has to report child abuse, child neglect, physical abuse, child neglect, verbal abuse, etc. And they do it by phone calling. Now, the other way that abuse is reported is by lay people, and that's the hard part. most of the lay people, or I don't know, say most, I'm trying to do some statistics on there. So let's say half of the lay people that call in are using it as retaliation, or they get back at one pacer. For instance, a neighbor is upset with your dog's barking. So they'll call CPS and say things that may not be true to get you in trouble. Or your tree is overgrowing the yard, or something like that. Or in my case, it was a family member that wanted to steal our children. It was an in-laws that were reporting for 5 years things were not true. So I understand where you come from, Erica. I understand where you come from. Yes, Faye, I agree with you. Faye just said revenge callers, like family members or neighbors, mad at you. Those are the lay people. The trouble is, and this is where I think they need to change it, or they must change it, is that all these allegations, whether done by professionals or lay people are your in laws, family members, relatives, friends, you know, they must do so in writing. They must fill out a form, put down the specifics, and then sign your name to it that you attest that the following is true. And that way, most people will drop out. A lot of people don't want to have something writing with their name on it because then they can come back and people can retaliate if they did lies. So that's very important. I think it should be. And they don't need to tell who called in. That doesn't need to be told to the other party, but still, they need to have a better way of reporting the incidents because I think by me talking to over 100 people from different states, that 99% of the time these cases should never have been where the children should have been taken. And now the other thing is that they take the children right away when they suspect something, and that's wrong too. They're not all in imminent danger. My children, my three of them, were taken from me after 5 years, and they tricked me and let me in there in my house, and they charged me and my wife with neglect. And the neglect was my family's furniture belongings that I was sorting through because they're in the process of dying, and I was taking care of their estate. Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate. Either Desiree Larita Erickson, your name sounds familiar, but I forgot what city and state you're calling from. We got Faye from Richmond, Kentucky. We got Erica from North Hollywood, California. And Desiree, I don't know, um, Lincoln, Nebraska. There we go. I'm so sorry. I know you were. Oh, you're the friend of Heather. That's why. Okay, yes, yes, yes. You're the friend of Heather that called in about her children. She's from Lincoln, Nebraska, too. I'm sorry, Desiree. I know you seem familiar, but you were the friend of the person that spoke on my show last night. That was very sweet of her. And it's very sweet of her to support her. You know, that's one thing out there. We all need support. There are a lot of, hurts that people are going through. I mean, we're in hard times. A lot of us are homeless. A lot of us have lost jobs. A lot of us have low income. And unfortunately, that's what the Child Protection Agency preys on. That's what they want. And, I feel that anybody that takes the time to call in or talk on this show really cares about their children. Why would they, if they didn't care, they wouldn't call in and so like that. And it seems like it's little glitches of things. It's things where they preyed on people. Like someone's involved in foster care at age 2, grew up in the foster care system, then gets married, has children, and then CPS tries to take away their children. It's really, really bad. Yes, you have. I'm glad that, Faye, you have that group fighting to abolish abuse, Hotline Anonymous. Yeah. Well, I think if they put it in writing and they sign their name, that if it's proven to be not true, then they can press civil charges and do a lawsuit against that individual. But it's all very complicated. This whole system is complicated. And if I'm jumping around, I'm trying to make it a little bit differently. Desiree says her husband has called CPS on us. Oh, her husband's ex. Oh, your husband's ex, his former wife, has called CPS on you several times. And thankful everything was unfounded. I grew up out of foster care and it sucked. Yes. I'm so sorry, Desiree, that your husband ex came to do that. They do that revenge. You see, when people go through divorce, they do mean things. They hurt each other, which is sad. You don't want to hurt the person. It does no good. It stews in your stomach. So you really shouldn't go out hurting people. And I'm glad it was unfounded. But you grew up in foster care too. A lot of you have that are having this repeated problem, and foster care is blaming that. Foster care is blaming that. Welcome, Peggy. Um, well, that's a good question, Peggy. I think you're probably from Florida. I don't know what city you are from in Florida, but do we have any lawyers fighting for vulnerable adults being humans trafficking out through Florida, DCF, and APD agency? In Pacific, Florida, I don't know. I know that in the in California, we do. I mean, there's all kinds of trafficking. There's child trafficking. There's adult trafficking, and then there's sex trafficking. It's all the same because children are used in sex, and adults are used in sex. So human trafficking is wrong, and right now CPS is doing human trafficking because they right away take your child, put them into foster care, and try to keep them there for as long as they can so they get their money. They're getting $20,000 a month or more from the federal government and the state to use your child. But as Faye pointed out earlier, 388,000 was supposedly unaccounted for. Was it 388 or was it 800? Boy, go up here. 389. It's off 1,000. So, Peggy, if you welcome to the show. If you could tell me what city and state you're from, Peggy, it would help here because right now we have Desiree from Lincoln, Nebraska, Faye from Richmond, Kentucky, and then we have someone from Florida. Who do we have from Florida? We have Erica Marie from Hollywood, California. So I'm glad all you're calling in. Yep. They have organ trafficking too. Yeah. That's the sad part. It's like money rules the world. And that's wrong. Money shouldn't rule the world. But it's gotten really out of hand. I don't know if you know this or not, but the United States is becoming a third world country. And why is that? Not because economics. The definition of a third world country is there's no middle class. There's the rich and there's the poor. That's what the definition of a third world country. Yes, our technology is great. Our military is great. Our country is very popular because we have open borders. We allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the United States without verifying them, without seeing what their backgrounds are. And our crime rate has increased because of that. We have children from other countries living in the streets of New York, pocketing wallets and so forth. And where is the CPS? Watch out for the children under the age of 18. There's a lot of children that are homeless. Where is the CPS on them? It's sad. It's sad. And this has been going on for 150 years. I mean, if you look at the history of it's a great idea. It's a great concept that we need to take care of our children. We need to take care of our homeless people. We need to take care of low income. And how do we do that? And how is it being administrated? But it always seems that the idea sounds great, but no one seems to want to do anything or keep it going, and they let it get out of hand. And right now it's out of hand. My children were stolen from me. They weren't asked nicely to leave or anything else. They thought they were in imminent danger because of the sorting of the boxes and the furniture I do with my family. That's what they charged with neglect. And the paper agreed it, neglect by too many boxes high or stuff. It was terrible. It's terrible. And they stole it, and then they alienated my children. It was so bad. They do alienation, which is wrong. Now, married couples use alienate all the time to alienate the children from their parents so they get sole custody. And, sole custody is the answer. If you two can't live together, then you're going to have to find out a ways of taking care of the children, but still taking care of them. I mean, was it the child's fault you guys made love and had the child? No, it's not. And, I know it talks about abortion and things like that, but, when people are conceived, when the egg gets united with the sperm and multiple cell division, you got a life there. Now, that can happen from rape. It can happen from incest. It can happen from a lot of things. So, it's not the fault of the child. And there's wonderful mothers that stick with the children and the fathers will run away. They wash their hands of it. I mean, some of you single moms have 3 different fathers, 4 different fathers. And, unfortunately, that's not the way to do it. You should have one man, one woman, and a family. That's what our society is based on. And we want to respect each other and be treated like how we want to be treated. So, we want to keep our yard clean and we want to be nice to our neighbors because that's how we want to be treated. So it is hard. There's a lot of things that we talk about this. I don't know, Faye, if 300 foster kids are missing there in Kentucky. That's a big number. That's a big number. Now, we have Natalie on right now. I don't know what city, state. Let me go up further. We've had Peggy and Natalie now, and she says, hi, I just wrote an article about this broken system about to be out in a few weeks. I love to see that article, Natalie. I myself was a child that grew up in this system as well as my children had to go through it, and I was one of the very few single parents that has won my children back. And let's face it, obvious, this system is a cash cow business. I'm on a journey to challenge and expose this system. Well, I'll help you there, Natalie. That is wonderful words you're saying. I know it's a cash cow. I know they're making money. And they lie. There's no one watching them. A social worker, my social worker wasn't educated, no college degree, no classes in social work, no certificate, no mentoring. Like she was put into the thing in her early 20s, not even married, not have a family, and here she's supposed to be authoritative. And on top of that, these social workers think they're also clinical psychiatrists and can give prescriptions. No, a doctor can give prescriptions. You have to get a licensed clinic. You have to be a clinical licensed social worker to be any kind of a therapist or be able to diagnostic, the parents or the children and stuff. And there's It's so rampant out there. It really is. It's very, very rampant. And I should give you some rules to go by, because one of the most important thing that you need to do, and it's going to be the hardest thing in your life, is that you need to get an attorney. And I'll equate that to you need some heart work on your heart. Let's say you have a bad valve, or you need something inserted into the heart like a stent, or where the case would be. Now, are you going to be doing it yourself? Are you going to operate on your chest and try to open up and do the heart work? Are you going to use a layperson to do that? Or are you going to let maybe a beginning doctor do that? No, you're going to hire a professional doctor that's gone to school, medical school, that's done an internship to be a doctor, and that has mentored another doctor for a period of time before you even start tearing apart a live person. So that same thing goes true for CPS. CPS is a quad mine. It's spaghetti. It's like a spider spinning a web around you. Or if you know the story of Alice in Wonderland, she falls in the hole and she sees nothing but doors and doors and more doors that close, and she goes from place to place, not knowing where she's at. Going into CPS is like Alice in Wonderland. And it's sad because these CPS workers do not care about human beings. They allow child trafficking of our children, and they believe everything that comes in, and they want to take your child right away. But in a lot of cases, it's not needed to. I mean, there's special needs that children need, and the parents are better suited. There's been some stories that have been told me where the children are given back to the parents because CPS couldn't take care of them, or foster care because of special needs. There are people, and again, they're living beings. They're all trying to live. We're all trying to live in this planet. And we're all trying to make a living and live comfortably. But right now, CPS isn't allowing that. Their greed has taken over the wanting of money. Their greed has taken over. And so, when the call's made, they assume it's right. They have 24 hours to start an investigation. Once the investigation started, they're going to come and get you. They're going to come and get you. Now, the reason why I emphasize that the number one rule should be a lawyer is because, like a doctor, like your open heart surgery, you need a doctor to do it. Well, CPS, you need a professional attorney. You need an attorney that knows how to fight CPS, that has a track record in one cases, that has returned children, a family law attorney that's gone to law school, passed the bar, and so forth, and a family law attorney that cares. So many attorneys take parents' money. I couldn't believe some of the stories I heard, and these people barely have money themselves. And so there's unscrupulous attorneys. It's a hard decision to pick out an attorney for your case. And it's important you meet with that attorney to establish a chemistry that, you can hire him, because that's what I'm saying. You need an attorney. And we have one here at a law firm. It's Mr. Vincent W. Davis. Vincent Davis is a professional family law attorney with many, many years of fighting CPS, and successfully got their children back or kept their children. He also is a trial attorney. And he has also won lawsuits against CPS, both in the state courts and the federal courts. He knows how to sue these people for violation of constitutional and civil rights. So, right now he's offering a 30-minute consultation for $49.99. That's $50. That's for 30 minutes. It's well worth spending those 30 minutes. But you can see him, and I encourage you to call in at 888-888-6582. Tell him that Bob Pace sent you, and a uh, schedule a time with Mr. Davis for 30 minutes, because it'll open your eyes so well. And it's less than $50 a minute. I mean, less than $1 a minute. I'm trying to say. I know it's a lot of money. $50 is a lot of money, and it's hard to come by. I agree with you. It is hard to come by. So $1.66 a minute, all right, whatever. But you can go out for drinks for $50 just one night. Don't go out for drinks, and call in and say, I need help. Because what he'll do, he'll meet with you and give you the strategies of how to fight CPS and get your children back. And if your chemistries are good and you like him stuff, you will probably retain him. His fees are just as good as anyone around. And he's not a flake. He will defend you. And he will fight for you. There's no question about that. He will fight you. And I mean in a good way. He will fight you, not in a bad way. Oh. Had a little technical difficulty here. I think I'm connected all right. I was losing some power here. I don't know why, but sometimes things happen the way they do. But anyway, you should, or you must, hire an attorney. I did. Until I did, I tried to fight them. I tried to fight them so hard for a year and a half. I wrote emails. I had meetings. I had meetings with the top dog. My case was in Southern California. And the CP office was a Taj Mahal of a place. It was like the Emerald City in the Wizard of Oz. It was so gaudy. And you saw where the money went to. It didn't go to the children. And the director was even worse than the building. He wore so much gold around his neck, I thought he'd fall over. You can usually tell something about people. I know it's nice to flash gold and that you're rich. But when you're working in public service, you want to have more of a conservative look, a professional look. You want to be able to make that person feel at ease. But if you're wearing 100 chains around your neck and you are the comments come in one ear and go out the other ear when you've done wrong. They knew they did wrong to me, and it made them worse. They retaliated. Not only do you have people calling in retaliating you because they don't like you, because your dog's noisy or your yard's overgrowing or whatever the case may be. They weren't taking care. And then I do complaints all the way up. You can make complaints and so forth. And people with complaints do nothing but goes in a round file. And it's sad. They keep doing the same mistakes, the same thing over and over. But with the attorney, he can stop a lot of those things. I wish I had attorneys in the beginning. Maybe I would not have lost my daughter. Maybe I would have still had my daughter here. My daughter's gone. I don't know if any of you, but a lot of you I know have lost children through all kinds of means. Mine was just taken from me. It wasn't lost. She was trafficking. And the social worker had the guts to tell her you can divorce your parents. She didn't say you can. She said divorce your parents, change your name, and steal your birth certificate. So that's what she did. But she was all duped in it. She didn't know the rationale behind it. So she divorces her mom and dad, her brothers, her grandparents, all her family members, and then she seals her birth certificate like she wasn't even born. I know where she was born. I was there at her birth. I have the original birth certificate. And to change your name, that name that you change it to is one you picked, but it wasn't one that parents give. You know, when parents give children names, it's usually because they want to honor them either with another family member or they want to recognize something or something along those things. So I feel really, really sad because that was a damage. The social worker told my wife that that's what she was going to do because they did not like you to complain about your civil rights. They want you to sit still and do nothing. They want you not to. They want you to sign paperwork that gives away your child, and that's wrong too. That is wrong too. So I've been there. I know what you guys are feeling. Um, I know how angry Erica Marie is. I mean, she just is something brand new for her, and I hope that she calls back. All of you are calling in because you need help, and it's hard to find the right attorney. So please call in 888-6582 and talk to Mr. Davis for 30 minutes for $49.99. Now, rule number 2 that I want to give you deals with taking notes. You want to get a clean notebook with just CPS in there. Just anything to do with CPS is in there. And on your first line, you write down the date and time of the incident. When did it occur? What was the time? And then what you do is you write the people that were involved in the incident. What were the 3 policemen? If you don't know the policeman's name, you put down 3 policemen. The children's. You identify all the people involved in the incident. Then you want to skip and go to the next line because that first line will pretty filled up. And then what you want to do is that you want to put what the incident was about. A simple one sentence that would capture the whole incident. Something that you would remember 6 months later because you need to refer to your notes. And then you want to put on the next line the outcome. So, you know, it will take maybe 3 lines per each incident. One is the time and the date and the people involved. And then the second one is the what the incident was about. And the third is the outcome. Now, you can go ahead and make it longer. There's no definition of that. What works for you. Then I'd skip a couple of spaces because you'll come back to it and you may want to write notes. You may want to write something that helps you later on. You can also use highlighters and highlight things that are important that you want to refer back to. So taking notes is a good thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking notes. Now, the third rule, and this is the most important of all the 3 rules. Well, the get an attorney is important. Don't get me wrong. But you do not want to talk to social workers. You do not want to talk to policemen. You can be polite to policemen and social workers and use yes/no answers. You don't have to give all the additive stuff to them. If they ask a question, you're not sure, say no. Also, if they keep bugging you, you can say, look, I can't talk any further because I need to consult with my attorney. And we will get back to you, me and my attorney. Now you may not have an attorney, but they don't know that. They don't know that. And that's also a good reason maybe why you want to go out and get an attorney. So you can use that ruse to get them away from you, but you don't want them in your home either. No police, no social workers. They use that ruse all the time. Social worker shows up with the policeman who's very intimidating to take your children. I mean, that's what their goal is. And I was duped. I was so duped by these people. Why? We are taught early age to respect the police, abide by the police, abide by government officials. And we're supposed to. And so when you're duped like I was, you're going to pay consequences. I allowed them in my home. The first 5 years, I mean, there was no problem because my parents were dying. And that's when the problem became a problem. In 2015 is when they got into my home illegally. Now you're probably saying illegally. Well, no one is supposed to enter your home. It's your castle. Your constitutional rights give you that. The only way they can enter the home if there's an active shooting going on or some type of thing that's endangering the people, the children, whatever, they can. Or if they have a court warrant that says they have the right to search and the right to get in to your home. But that is tricky because they have to go before a judge and say there's enough evidence they suspect something going on, they need to inspect it. So they need a court warrant. So if they don't have one out there, don't let them in. Also, you should think about where to put your children because they'll come back with a warrant. And they'll come into your house and use everything against you. And if you have a history of CPS or you're a foster kid, they'll use that against you. They're determined to kidnap, child traffic your child, and get them into foster care. Because they want that money. My social worker was given a bonus. She all the time showed up with new eyelashes, makeup, her Gucci purses. She had one for every week of the month. Her BMW car. And she always gloated that those my bonuses. Her bonus was to keep the children with an open case so that they can get that $20,000. With my 3 children, that was $60,000 plus. And that's not the other. They rip off not only from they rip off from Social Security. They do. It's amazing what they take funds from. They get away with it. There's no accountability. I think they should have a board of directors or board of supervisors that should meet once a month and see how the local county's doing and see what the complaints have been. There should be a better complaint system because the ombudspersons and the CASAs work for social services. So when you complain to them, it's like giving CPS the information. I mean, ombudsperson theoretically are supposed to help you with your rights, with your children's rights and stuff. And the CASA is supposed to help you when your children don't have anybody to talk to and they can talk about the case and stuff. So you don't really want to trust them and stuff. So whatever you do not let them in your home. Do not let them take your children away. They also go one other place. They go to the birthing room and they'll try to take your child away, especially if you tasted positive or for drugs and stuff. You should be allowed to leave with your child to a shelter if you can't do it at home. Your child needs to nurse and bond, and they don't want to do that. They want to stop all that. They want to alienate that baby. And it's sad. It is so sad that they're doing this. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you that, but they will take your children. You may have to move out of state or move your children with some relative till the thing passes over, but you may want to think about relocating. And with states that are so small and easy to cross over, like Boston and Rhode Island, CPS workers will come into Rhode Island to remove children. And they have no jurisdiction. See, that's another thing. CPS violates every day so many constitutional and civil rights of you. I mean, CPS isn't allowed to go from Massachusetts to Rhode Island to take children from a grandmother whose mother had placed it with the grandmother to take care of while she went through some hospital work. There's nothing wrong with that. They thought they're in imminent danger with the grandma. Why? Why was that grandma in imminent danger with her grandchildren? And so many of you have told me that. I mean, this isn't the first grandmother involved with the children, or it's not necessarily a mother thing. It's both males and females. There's one father we talked to who has a case. His wife died through some natural causes and stuff, and so they took away his children, but he wants to have custody of him. So he moved to Alaska and living out of a tent until you save up money to buy a house. But you know how cold that tent is. Alaska is not a warm place. But he cares so much about his children. Some of you have cared about your children to you in your 30s and 40s. You haven't given up. And I admire you. It makes me hope with my children that I may be able to see my daughter one day. I keep hoping that. So I've given you 3 rules. I've talked a lot about CPS and what they do and what they don't do. And some of the things that I've found out are topics I try to talk to people about. Some people have asked, what is tutorship versus custody? And some people are able to have temporary custody of the children by doing tutorship, while the person who still has the custody may be taking care of things. Excuse me. But this CPS has a long history. I mean, it goes back to 1853. And I read a lot in there, and I couldn't believe that it's called the Aid Society in 1853. They had a train in the 30s that would take kids to safe places. There's so many stories of how children were abused over the years. No question about that. It was orphan trains that brought homeless New York City children to work. the orphan train movement, and so forth. A lot of history. You should look into this because you can learn some things. Now, every state has a Department of Social Services. That's something you should go to and look at there. They have ways how you can make complaints about the county child welfare service agency. You can make complaints about child support, and you can make complaint against foster youth rights violations. You know, you can make complaints against social workers' conduct. You can do it against law enforcement officers and even the judges for misconduct and wrongdoing. My judge was bad. It was a terrible, terrible experience. But you need to look at that. You need to look at, if things are not happy. You have to be active. Keep yourself busy will help. There's a great story about how Georgia was sending kids out of state for behavioral health needs to another state. If you have more time, we could talk about that again. Someone brought up a new trunk. And that's where you change something, you misstated something, and that's where they go back and change something. Don't be alarmed about that. Sad part is most of your constitutional rights and your civil rights are not recognized by CPS. They abuse their power. They abuse their power. I'm coming up pretty soon to the end of my show. I didn't have anybody call in today, which is okay. You can call in another time. Also, we had a guest today, but they had to cancel out. And I had one person today that expressed interest being a guest. So I hope they follow through. I want to thank the people that had texted in. Faye, it's very sweet and nice of you to come here and be supportive in my room. She's been with me for quite some time now. She's from Kentucky and tells me all about Kentucky. She's a good mom, and I admire her. Erica Marie is new. She's from North Hollywood, California. She has a sad story. She said she'd be on the show tonight or tomorrow. And she's been trying to fight custody of her kids. And apparently it looks like the father is trying to take sole custody. They should be joint custody. Parents see both their children. Desiree Larita from Lincoln, Nebraska called in again. She's a friend of Heather who's on her show, very sweet lady. And she shared some things that I didn't know about, and I'm glad you did. Glad to have you, Desiree. We had Peggy Dupree. I never knew what state or city she was from, but she wrote in about human sex trafficking and adults being, vulnerable and so forth, and asked about things in Florida. So I think she's from Florida. Then there was Natalie Ellison, who's my latest one that came in there, and she has an article that she's writing that I'd love to see. And I hope, Natalie, you come and share it on my show. You can maybe do a pitch for your book on my show. Natalie, thank you there for what you shared. It was really nice. Well, my time is up. I want to thank all of you for listening. Good luck. Do not give up. I feel for you. I care for you. I hope the new year, much success and much happiness. I thank you for tuning in, and I will see you tonight, some of you, or maybe tomorrow. God bless you all.